A very good evening and welcome to the 8 p.m. news broadcast brought to you by Eswatini TV. My name is Nondobego Nzabgelwago and I am together with Zama Nzimanze. Let's take a look at tonight's headlines. His Majesty King Eswatini III has called for a joint house sitting tomorrow. Ministry of Defense Principal Secretary His Royal Highness Prince Stalo attended a graduation ceremony for military police soldiers. The Ministry of Public Works has announced task teams that will review government general orders that regulate government's civil servants. The news in detail. His Majesty King Eswatini III has directed a joint house sitting of the House of Assembly and Senate tomorrow starting at 10:30 in the morning. The joint sitting will be looking at international instruments and conventions that need to be ratified.
The joint sitting will deliberate 11 international conventions and protocols. The House of Assembly Speaker Petros Mavimbela and Senate President Lindiwe Dlamini made the announcement by His Majesty King Eswatini to both houses.
Imbube inkosi Mswati wesithathu uthi iParliament indlu timbili timphunga nabayisikhulu kusasa atihlangane eParliament titowenda umsebenzi webuketa ema-conventions lang 11 lokusho ukuthi lo msebenzi utawendeka eParliament kusuka ngensimbi yelishumi igabence ekuseni lokusho ukuthi emalungu eParliament ayaceleka lokuthi agcine isikhathi kulo msebenzi omgcokana kangaka.
Bayethe wena waphakathi.
Bayethe wena waphakathi.
Lokusho kuthi namuhla ngekubuketa isiqephu sokuqala the first schedule ye constitution ingwenyama yemhlaba inkosi Mswati wesithathu ivele yaseseyibita kuthi iParliament lihlale libe ne joint sitting ngekugunyatwa nguye section 238 subsection 2 kanye na subsection 5 lapho khona wekunene kunemandla ekuthi abite tindlu totimbili tihlale kanye kutakwendeka lokho ke kusasa ekuseni igabence yelishumi insimbi lapho khona kutabe kubuketwa khona ema international conventions nema protocols lapho khona iParliament itabe itimbanzakanya noma iratifier noma lokunye ivumelana nalokubekwe ngemavela amanye ambalwa ke lama conventions nema protocols atsinza ematiko lambalwa ayithe enophakathi enonganga izindaba.
The international conventions and protocols touches on a number of ministries, including the Ministry of Finance and the Deputy Minister's Office. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Dlangamandla, Parliament.
The Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Defense, Prince Stalo, attended a graduation ceremony of 67 soldiers who were trained Military Police Basic Law Enforcement Course number 1 of 2020 at the Matapa Police Academy.
The 6-week course, which the students studied among other things, includes arrest, crime prevention. Chief Army Officer Prince Langusembi, speaking during the event, encouraged the military police to further their studies.
Siyati ukuthi ama-military police akaqali namuhla. But ke siyati ukuthi ke lolu hlobo lolu ingayizivele lesesivile ke nangayo ukuthi itawuqhubeka iqhubeke and itawuqhubeka ngesigaba sekwekwekuthi nine nitawufunda uqhubeka ngalomsebenzi esigabeni sekwekwekuthi nitawukhuthata nana nifundzise.
Umbutfo Eswatini Defence Force Commander General Jeffrey Chabalala thanks the National Commissioner of Police William Dlamini for empowering his troops on basic law enforcement. He says his troops will now be able to mount roadblocks.
Offences which are committed by the soldiers, especially those ones of spoiling the Defence Force name by drinking too much and then driving along the roads, is going to be a thing of the past.
The National Commissioner of Police, William Dlamini, says he expects more soldiers to undertake similar courses at the police college.
Siyabonga kakhulu nekuthola lithuba lokunibona lokunadi. Siyethemba ukuthi usebentisana kunje utawuqhubeka buhambe umgami nemgami. Angibonga kakhulu babeshabalala the Army Commander for approaching us as a police service.
Director of Public Prosecutions, Sandile Dlamini, says there is nothing wrong with the soldiers being military police as it is accordance with the country's constitution.
Bopha emasotsha nagangeni singawati lo mthetho kwekuthi umthetho ukunika ukuthi uliphoyisa ubopha konke lokubucayi bendeke ngekhathi emasotsheni bendeke ngaphandle wenda umsebenzi webuphoyisa.
Speaking on behalf of military police students, Nondumiso Masuku thanked the UEDF Commander General for availing the opportunity. She says their cause involved Human Rights, Sexual Offences and Domestic Violence Act, Children Protection and Welfare Act, Traffic Management, among others. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Dlangamandla, Matsapa.
The Minister of Public Service, Christian Njangase, has officially commissioned 2 task teams that will review general orders that regulate and govern the work of civil servants. The 2 task teams are led by Simpa College Principal Cyril Gunene and the Ministry's legal advisor, Sylvia Masego.
The 2 task teams commissioned by the Minister of Public Service, Christian Njangase, on Friday are expected to review government's general orders as well as finalize regulations for the Public Service Act of 2018. Minister Njangase says some civil service general orders are now outdated and reviewing them will, among other things, help improve the culture of excellent service delivery in government ministries.
Some of these programs include the development and implementation of regulations for the Public Service Act and the review of the government general orders. It is in this regard, therefore, that the 2 task teams that will be responsible for delivering these programs are commissioned today.
The minister explains some of the terms of reference that have been given to the 2 task teams.
Its terms of reference are as follows. That is to, 1, finalize the development of the public service regulations. 2, coordinate consultations with key stakeholders on the draft regulations. 3, facilitate awareness on the Public Service Act of 2018. 4, coordinate cabinet and parliamentary approval of the regulations. 5, publish and operationalize the regulations through the issuance of the Eswatini Government Gazette. 6, facilitate the implementation of the Public Service Act number 5 of 2018 through consultations with the Attorney General's Office.
The task teams are expected to have concluded their assignments by June 2021. They are also expected to produce a comprehensive report on their findings in the same period. For Eswatini TV News, Hlengiwe Ndlovu with Muzimkonda in Babane.
The Minister for Sports, Culture and Youth Affairs, Harry Bulunga, says while the country is battling the COVID-19 pandemic, it should not lose focus in the fight against HIV and AIDS. The minister was speaking during the World AIDS Day commemoration at Mapiveni in the Lubombo region.
The Regional World AIDS Day commemoration, which is a build-up to the main commemoration on the 1st of December 2020, got underway in the country in the Lubombo region. This year's World AIDS Day commemoration theme is Eswatini Ending AIDS in Solidarity by 2022, Share Responsibility. The Lubombo commemoration was graced by the Minister of Sports, Culture and Youth Affairs, Harry Bulunga.
Lesikhathi sokugubha i-World AIDS Day or commemoration yayo yendeka ngesikhathi lapho live libukene nekubhedvuka kwetifo letimbili.
In his speech, the minister emphasized the importance of not losing focus in the fight against HIV/AIDS as a result of the outbreak of other diseases such as COVID-19.
Silwa ne-COVID, silwa ne-HIV, letinto tiyahambisana, kufuneka ukuthi kunye bese akusanakeki.
Ucela kakhulu mhlonishwa ukuthi leligalelo lesimbambile sivela kangwane.
Kanyamabuza, the director of the National Emergency Response Council on HIV/AIDS, NECHA says they have noted with concern that some people who test positive for HIV end up not taking antiretroviral treatment. Mabuza says they will soon be working with chiefdoms to follow up on those people to ensure that they get on treatment as soon as possible. Mhlume MP Victor Malambe said there is a need for more HIV outreach programs in Mhlume because Emaswati from all over the country are employed by big companies such as Royal Eswatini Sugar Corporation. Malambe also reiterated that while the country is battling COVID-19, Emaswati should not lose focus in the fight against COVID-19, lest we lose the gains that have been achieved. Other speakers, who included a representative of the World Health Organization, commended the kingdom from having fought bravely the HIV pandemic, given that at some point it had a high HIV prevalence, but to date it is one of the leading nations in the world in the fight against HIV. Reporting for Eswatini TV News is Tembeli Makutwa with Temba Shabangu, Mapiveni.
The Minister of Agriculture, Jabulani Mabuza, has officially handed over to the Ministry of Health 3 consultation rooms at Lubulini Clinic worth over R1 million emalangeni. The consultation rooms were constructed by the Eswatini Agriculture Development Enterprise, Eswatini.
The Eswatini Water and Agriculture Development Enterprise, Eswatini, has built Lubulini Clinic consultation rooms. The 3 consultation rooms were handed over by the Minister of Agriculture, Jabulani Mabuza, to the Minister of Health, Lizinkosi, who was represented by the Ministry's Principal Secretary, Dr. Simon Zwane. The Minister says the construction of the consultation rooms cost over R1 million.
Babambisane nelitiko laka health ukuthi kwakhiwe nasi sakhiwo lesisemva kwethu lesihle lesisibonile kuze kukhona ukuthuthukiswa eMaswati etindzabeni tempilo.
The Ministry of Health Principal Secretary Dr. Simon Zwane, who spoke on behalf of the minister, said the clinic consultation rooms are going to help a lot of people, not just those at Lubulini.
Bantu bala kulendzawo kulommango lemimango lela naleminye imimango lekhashane nelibuli.
Lubulini Chiefdom Pondo Dlamini said they are very grateful and the construction of the consultation rooms will go a long way. Nozizwe Masugu, who spoke on behalf of the Lubombo Regional Administrator, said there was a great need for the consultation rooms, which is why they are very grateful. Reporting for Eswatini TV News is Tembeli Makutwa at Lubulini.
Minister for Tourism and Environmental Affairs, Moses Vilagati, has encouraged Eswatini to visit the country's tourist attraction areas in order for the country's economy to develop. The minister, who was represented by the Principal Secretary in the ministry, John Hlophe, said during this official launch of this year's festive season campaign held at the Mandenga Lodge in Eswatini.
As the festive season approaches next month, Minister of Tourism and Environmental Affairs Moses Vilagati, who was represented by the Principal Secretary in the ministry, has officially launched this year's festive season campaign. Speaking during the launch of the festive season campaign at Mandenga Lodge in Eswatini, the Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Tourism, John Hlophe, emphasized that while Eswatini enjoy the tourism products, they must remember to adhere to all COVID-19 regulations to avoid the risk of high infections again, as this is extremely important because if not well taken care of, it may reverse the gains attained thus far.
Mbeni Maswati nisiyovakasha khona le sector yaka tourism itondlondlobala kubonakala ukuthi umnotho wakangwane uyaphakama.
During the event, Hlophe then acknowledged and commended Tabile Maripe for the outstanding contribution to domestic tourism in Eswatini.
Ema Facebook pages etfundvu nangu Eswatini Tourism.
Eswatini Tourism Authority's Chief Executive Officer Linda Ngumalo unpacks this year's festive season campaign as to how it will look like and what is expected from Eswatini during the upcoming this year's festive season. Ngumalo then called upon every Eswatini to visit any tourism establishment and stand a chance to win exciting tourism packages for the festive season, and want to be part of this initiative, you just have to scan and send the receipt via WhatsApp to the number 7808 9000 or email it to infodesk@tourismauthority.org.sz. This will be a receipt of at least 500 emalangeni expenditure from any tourism facility. First National Bank manager Lando Dlamini says this partnership comes at a time when the bank is also in the final stages of the development of the website, an innovative platform with a large component dedicated to showcasing the beauty of the Kingdom of Eswatini.
We are pleased to announce today that we will officially be partnering with Eswatini Tourism Authority on the campaign's familiarization tours. In this regard, FNB is sponsoring these informative tours to the tune of 65,000 emalange.
Hotels chairperson Mark Ward advised Eswatini to make sure that they always look for the green sign every time they travel to the tourist places of attraction for their safety. For Eswatini TV News, I'm Zoto Adlamini with Mbongatube in Eswatini.
The Ministry of Health on Friday received 55 hospital beds from the Doctors Without Borders organization. Head of Mission for Doctors Without Borders, Bernard Kirschberger, says this is a decision they took upon realizing the growing number of admitted COVID-19 patients.
In supporting the Ministry of Health in the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as preparing for the second wave, the Doctors Without Borders organization has donated a total number of 55 hospital beds to the Ministry of Health. Speaking during the donations presentation, Head of Mission of Doctors Without Borders, Dr. Bernard Kirschberger, says he is hopeful that the beds will result in an improved wellness of hospitalized patients.
I think we have seen that Corona has affected Swaziland very much, and even though the number of cases has been declining recently, I think we have to be prepared for the second wave. As part of our preparation, we also engaged with the Ministry of Health in further discussion how we can best assist, and we got a great donation from our colleagues, MSF colleagues in South Africa, of more than 50 hospital beds and mattresses that we are very happy to donate to the corona response in Eswatini.
Director of Health Services, Dr. Vusi Makakula, thanked Doctors Without Borders organization for the donations.
But today it is to receive the beds, and we needed them so much because of the COVID problem which we've had, and the fact that even in the other facilities outside of the Lubombo Regional Hospital. We also needed beds because beds get old, they get worn out, and then you probably need to change. So it is a very relevant donation, and we really thank them for even the rest of what they have helped us with in the country.
Head of Mission for Doctors Without Borders, Dr. Bernard Cashberger, assured the Ministry of Health that they will continue improving the quality of health service provision to the nation. Cashberger also stated that they are awaiting more beds and mattresses to be donated by Doctors Without Borders from South Africa. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, Sifiso Ngumalo with Muva Shongwe, Hlangano.
The Taiwan Medical Mission in Eswatini has expressed its willingness to help the kingdom in its quest to eliminate malaria by 2023. This was said by the Taiwan Technical Mission's Deputy Chief of Mission, Dr. Sei Tang Liao, who was speaking during the official closing ceremony for a group of laboratory technologists who were trained on malaria microscopy.
The Malaria Microscopy Refresher Training for Laboratory Technologists, which was held at the Mountain Inn in Babane, was supported by the Taiwan Technical Mission, which worked closely with the Ambassador's Office. Speaking during the workshop's official closing ceremony, Dr. Sei Tang Liao, who is the Deputy Chief of Mission at the Taiwan Technical Mission, said their support in the fight against malaria in Eswatini is inspired by His Majesty King Mswati III's vision of Eswatini eliminating the disease by the year 2023.
The malaria control is very important for this country, and we are happy that so many technologists come here to attend this microscopy training program for malaria. When they finish this program, I think they will expert to the microscopic examination for this malaria.
Fortunate Bembe, who represented the Director of Health Services in the Ministry of Health, Dr. Vusi Makakula, acknowledged that for Eswatini to successfully do away with malaria by 2023, health workers need to be well equipped on diagnosing and treating this disease.
Accurate laboratory diagnosis is essential, as false negatives can result in untreated cases, as well as false positive can result in the wastage of our limited resources.
Bembe expressed the Ministry of Health's appreciation to Taiwan for consistently assisting Eswatini and especially in strengthening health systems. For Eswatini TV News, Hlengiwe Ndlovu with Mbongwa Dube in Babane.
Local hawkers have expressed their excitement over government's 650 emalangeni subsidy for COVID-19 tests for those who travel to neighboring countries. Panzela Umvana Hawkers Association Mapawodi Dlamini says this subsidy will help sustain their businesses.
On Wednesday, the Prime Minister Ambrose Manvulo Dlamini announced that government would now subsidize COVID-19 tests for hawkers who frequently travel to neighboring countries. The Prime Minister said government would pay 600 emalangeni for COVID-19 tests. Chairperson of Panzela Umvana Hawkers Association, Mapawodi Dlamini, says this subsidy brings much needed relief as hawkers could not just afford to pay the high COVID-19 testing fees. Dlamini says the subsidy proves beyond reasonable doubt that government and His Majesty King Mswati III are thoughtful and considerate of the struggles that Emaswati people face. Dlamini explains about the logistics of registering for this subsidy. He says only 200 hawkers will be registered and considered for the subsidy each week. He says hawkers from the country's 4 regions will equally benefit. He, however, cautions that hawkers who will be traveling need to make early indications of their intentions to travel. Before government subsidy, hawkers were expected to pay 850 emalangeni for the mandatory COVID-19 tests, which must be done before traveling to neighboring countries. For Eswatini TV News, Hlengiwe Ndlovu with Muzim Konda in Manzini.
And in our sports news today, Norman Koza, who was the communications officer for the Bitcoin pool tournament, says the tournament helps them keep active since they come from a long layoff because of the coronavirus outbreak. Koza was speaking during the ongoing pool tournament sponsored to the tune of 10,000 demalangeni in Mbabane.
Pool players these days are excited with the number of games they have been playing, since those who are competing under the Manzini Regional Pool League also find time to compete in the newly launched tournament known as the Bitcoin Pool Tournament, which is sponsored to the tune of 10,000 emalangeni. Norman Koza, who is the communication officer of the tournament, says it helps them keep active.
Tournament iyasita kakhulu sibadlali bepool njengoba besolo sihleti nje singadlali sizathu ukuthi bekunana umkhuhlane omkhulu we-COVID-19.
Koza says the tournament helps them as pool players since they have not been active for the longest of times because of the coronavirus outbreak, but now since they are allowed to play again because their sport is a non-contact sport, so it helps them to remain active so they may return to the top form.
Wonke umuntu ufakile vele imask isiphephile ama-sanitizer konke kukhona, so kusita kakhulu ukuthi sichubeke sidlale sitokhona sisiphinde sibiyele sibe active njengoba besolo sidlala.
Pool players in the tournament believe they can go far in the tournament, where some even believe they can actually win it.
Akusafuna siphinde mistakes lapha nalapha, otherwise singakhona ukuthi siyithathe.
Sekufighter nje ukuthi stomach fighter ku top 16 ukuze siphumelele. Mina ngilwela nje ukufika ku top 8 bese sesingabona nasesingale kulo top 8.
Ngadla izlembo ngiyadla izlanga elamhla ngiyacabanga ukuthi sitawufika bo last 8, so sitaw qualify.
The tournament is played using doubles format where there are 32 registered teams. When compiling these reports, the teams were still battling it out in the group stages of the tournament. Reporting for Eswatini TV Sports News, I am Patiso Msivi, Mbabane.
Well, that brings us to the end of our news bulletin. But before we wrap up, let's take a quick recap of the headlines. His Majesty King Eswatini III has called for a joint house sitting tomorrow. Ministry of Defense Principal Secretary His Royal Highness Princess Talo attended a graduation ceremony for military police soldiers. The Ministry of Public Works has announced task teams that will review government general orders that regulate government's civil servants. Eswatini, that is all the news we had for you tonight. Up next is the weather forecast. Good night and God bless.
At Build It, you can do it with the ultimate workhorse. So load up at Build It and you could win one of 10 Nissan NP200 Buckies. Plus, over 380 Stanley toolkits up for grabs. Hurry, promotion ends 14 November. Build It.